know what happened. Yeah, so that, I think it broke, it shut down. Can you try and go, sorry, Annie, can you try and go out of it and join again? Sorry about that. Help. Hmm. Great. Yeah, please, everyone, check it out. Have you had any luck? Can you see if I'm live or not? Oh, no. Also, if your daughter comes back and we need to ask her how to mute my thing, because that would only help. Oh, is it? Okay, fine, fine. Fantastic. Oh my God. Oh, I have so much hope in the younger generations, though, because they are just so much, they're so much more wanting to be educated and doing so much. I mean, we know of so many already who are making such a difference, but they're so inspiring, really. We can learn a lot from the younger generations at this point, you know. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. Am I? Hi, guys. Sorry about this. Am I live? I am live. I just don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. Please don't break on me, phone. But now, as I know, so that you buy another one really soon. I did know that anyway, but yeah, not great.
Hey, back.
Not cool. Okay, we're back.
Thank you. I'm happy to talk about a little bit the circular economy.
Go for that.
That circular economy is an alternative to what I call a linear economy, the take, make, waste economy. In a linear economy, you pull something out of the earth, you process it, you use it, and you throw it away. So it's pulling it out. It's one way. Circular economy is to make it a closed loop, so that you do the same thing over and over and over. And the great thing about moving towards a circular economy is you have less natural resource input. So you're harvesting and mining and logging and taking less out of the earth, and you have less waste output. So you're getting rid of less waste. It's circular economy. And there's some things that you can do a circular economy for a long time. Plastic is very limited in how you can use it in the circular economy. For one thing, there's so much plastic. There's more than any country's recycling system can handle. The companies love to tell us that plastic is recycled or recyclable. Only 9% of plastic ever produced has been recycled. And so that's one issue, is there's just too much. You have to, part of circular economy is using less from the beginning. But the other problem with plastic is you can't recycle it indefinitely. Is that plastic is made up of these long chains of chemicals, and when they are heated and break down, so it becomes a lower quality material. So you can't make a plastic bottle out of a plastic bottle out of a plastic bottle forever. You just simply can't. With real recycling, what you want to do is reduce the input, reduce the output by doing round like this. You can't with plastic. So they often call it downcycling. Technically, it's not really recycling, it's downcycling. You make a secondary lower quality product out of it. So instead of say you have a plastic Coke bottle or something, you can't make a Coke bottle out of a Coke bottle out of a Coke bottle. You might make that Coke bottle, could be a fleece jacket or a door.
Yeah. Oh, Sorry to be annoying, guys. I lost you again, Annie. I'm still on it, but I think you've gone. Sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Fine. It's fine. Fantastic. If you want to try once more. I'm really impressed with all these questions. Help us! Can you just sit in, you adorable angel? We all need a Billy in our lives. Okay, I'm ready. Yes. Got you.
Be tenacious. You must be relentless. No matter how many obstacles you face, you keep going, as we're doing with this Instagram live. So it is a metaphor for what it takes to clean up this mess. Okay, back to Jakarta. I've actually visited the dumps in Jakarta a number of times, so wonderful to have Jakarta here. Indonesia is one of the countries that Europe and the United States has historically sent plastic waste to, used it as our rubbish bin. In the countryside in Jakarta, I have gone to fields where there's loads of plastic dumped from Europe that actually has little recycling logos from Germany's Green Dot program and these other recycling programs in Europe. It is such a scam. So I'm very familiar with the waste situation there in Jakarta, and thank you so much for joining us. I don't always blame the small mom and pop shops that are selling plastic because, as we talked about earlier, the economy is set up to make that often be the only option that they have. And so what we really need to do is change the rules. And in terms of single-use plastic bags, which I know a lot of those small shops around Indonesia and many, many, many other countries sell, they have to just be banned. They are an absolute menace. The cost to cities to have to deal with those things when they are thrown away is so expensive that one of the ways you can convince a city to ban single-use plastics is ask them how much money they're spending cleaning this stuff up. Imagine if they did not have to go around scooping this out of rivers, unplugging drainage ditches. Those single-use plastic bags in many countries, they block the drainage ditches. Then there's a heavy rainstorm, and then there's a big flood. Like, that's all the cost of having single-use plastic that isn't showing up on the company's accounting books. It's showing on the public's. And so single-use plastic is a great money saver for cities to ban, and then they can use that money for doing promoting health and equity and other good things instead of just cleaning up after these polluting companies. But if you're in Jakarta, you can look at Greenpeace in Indonesia working against single-use plastic. They would love to have you contact them. There's another wonderful organization that's in 91 countries fighting plastic that's called Gaia, Gaia. And I know they have a group in Indonesia called Walhi, is a member of theirs that is very active. So lots of groups to get involved. So you don't have to figure this stuff out alone. That's important for folks to know. There are so many groups working on this. The best first thing to do is connect with a group so that you don't have to take this on alone.
I was also going to mention that horrible, horrible fact about the amount of money that they started putting into clearing up the waste, you know, those companies, but then how much money they're actually putting into making more plastic. What was the stat? Because it was terrifying. It was like 1.5.
I forget the number offhand, but you're talking about this new totally bogus effort that a bunch of companies have made. And it's called the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. And it's the exact same thing they tried to do in the 70s and 80s and 90s, which is focus our attention on waste. So it's a completely bogus PR thing that all these companies that make or use huge amounts of plastic are putting money into to do a big PR campaign about ending plastic waste. So that it's focusing our attention on the end of the life cycle again. I always want to go on their website and cross out the word waste. It should be the Alliance to End Plastic, not the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. I will say some people often say, you know, there's some plastic we need. And that is true. There is some plastic that we as a society might say is worth using. I mean, there's maybe some medical purposes. There are some, you know, very, very narrow group of plastic uses that we might, as a society, say this increases health. It increases equity. It's worth it for us as a society to use. That's not most plastic. the vast majority of plastic we could design out of the system through different materials, through different design processes, and we would be a healthy, safer, more resilient, and more fair planet if we did that.
I think the stat was something like 1.5 billion to do clean up plastic waste, and it's 200 billion putting into it.
It's something like that. I think it was 1.5 billion to say how much they care about plastic waste.
Sorry.
Not necessarily to clean it. Yeah, not necessarily to clean it up, but to convince us that they deeply, deeply care about this.
Should we go to another question? Should I go to, okay, sorry again if I say the names wrong, but Humphrey Trevelyan, I'm going to say, how the campaign against plastic connects with the broader environmental campaigns, such as Extinction Rebellion, and also campaigns against global poverty and exploitation.
Well, it depends how you look at plastic. If you only look at plastic as a waste issue, it doesn't connect that much with other things. But if you look at it more as a systems issue, it is so connected to all of those things. It is connected to public health. It is connected to climate, obviously, because it's fossil fuels. Extinction Rebellion is focusing on stopping fossil fuels, and fossil fuel companies are counting on us to continue and even increase our plastic use so that they can continue in existence. So when you see it as a systems issue, you see that plastic is connected to almost everything, which is why I think it's such a fascinating doorway through entering these issues. It's connected definitely to public health. It's connected to environmental justice, because plastic production and plastic disposal are so dangerous and disproportionately impact low-income and communities of color. It's connected to everything.
I got another question here from Zenon Kotsakis, and he said, I was wondering if there might be a possibility of taking legal action against parties such as the government or the supermarkets for lack of responsible measures to safeguard the public against the effects of plastic use. If we can point to the fact that the continued lack of restrictions on the production and use of plastic is continuing to have a negative impact on public health and the environment, wouldn't this be grounds for some form of legal actions?
It should be ground for some sort of legal action. And there's lots of lawyers that specialize in environmental harm that are investigating that. And every once in a while, there is a successful case where a particular community has been polluted from a plastic production facility and has had a successful case. So there are some precedents for doing that. But you know what the plastic industry is doing here in the United States? I don't know if where else they're doing it around the world. They're so sneaky. What they're doing is they're trying to get ahead of that. And they're trying to pass laws at different state levels and nationally that prevent our right, as citizens in our country, prevent our right to ban plastics and shield them from any liability. They don't want to be held accountable for the damage they're doing to people's health or to the environment. And they don't want us to organize and ban plastics. So plastics is not just an environmental issue, not just a climate issue, not just a health issue. It's also a democracy and human rights issue. Like, we should be allowed to organize in our communities to ban a material that we know makes us sick. And so those plastic companies are trying to get ahead of us. It's crazy to ban the banning of their toxic product. And we have to say, absolutely not. Our democracy is supposed to serve public health and well-being, not corporate profit. So it's a democracy issue too.
Christabel, do you want to do any other questions for anyone who's just kind of come through with them? Or what do you think?
So many. What an engaged audience.
I know, it makes me so happy.
So I think there is a role for recycling in the solution. But first of all, remember the mantra that we all learn in kindergarten: reduce, reuse, recycle. There is a
Yeah.
reason recycling is last. Recycling is what we do when we have exhausted other options. It's what we
Yeah.
do when we are total, it's what we do when our back is against the wall with the knife to our throat. We could not reuse it. We could not avoid it. You know, absolutely, it's the last thing we do. Too often we're starting with recycling instead of starting with reducing and reusing. The problem with counting on recycling for plastic is one thing is there's just way too much plastic to manage that. It's like, you know, trying to deal with a tsunami with a teaspoon. There's just no way that we can meet the scale. The other thing is that recycling doesn't take care of the upstream problems. Remember the damage caused by oil and gas drilling, the damage to public health caused by the petrochemical facilities. You have to also look at the beginning of the life cycle of plastics. We're so trained in our society to think of plastic only as from the store to our house to the recycling bin, as though that's its whole life. Before it comes to us and after it leaves us, that's where the biggest problems are. And we can't forget both of those. Right.
Hmm.
Right.
True.
Right.
Well said. Refuse, refuse, reuse. Hmm.
Right. So I think there's three reasons that taking individual action are really important. One reason is because making the right choices brings into alignment our values and our actions. And then
Hmm.
we're in a place of greater integrity. And from that place of greater integrity, we can engage for systemic change much better. I mean, we all know that when we do things that we know are bad for the planet, or unhealthy or unjust, it doesn't feel good. And so the more we can reduce that disalignment, then the more whole we can be entering the planet. So that's one thing for personal integrity. A second reason that trying to make the right choices is very important is it's a demonstration of our values, and it's a demonstration that alternatives exist. So I ride my bike and I have solar panels and I grow my vegetables in the backyard and I bring my reusable bottle and my reusable cup here, the story of plastic
Well
reusable cup.
done.
I do all those things not because I think that me doing that is going to make a difference in the amount of waste in the world, but because every time I do that, it shows policymakers, decision makers, my community that another
Yeah.
way is possible. So it's a proof of concept, which is important. But the
Hmm.
third reason that trying to do the right thing individually is important, is it's a way to find the flaws in the system. It's kind of like a metal detector. You take over the economy and it tells you where something is wrong. Anytime that the onus is on us, if it's more expensive, more difficult, if we have to go out of our way to do the right thing, that's a systems flaw. That's how we find the system flaws. We should have our system designed to make doing the right thing be the easiest, cheapest, simplest thing to do. And anytime we have to go out of our way or spend more money, that means we found a thing in the system that needs to be changed.
Yeah, definitely.
By humans. Like, these are not natural systems because there is no waste in nature. Humans are the only creature on this planet that have been able to create something called waste, something that's actually poisonous. And I think we need to remember that also, our governments are elected governments, well, they should be elected governments, and therefore they're there to serve humans and their populations, and make sure that they are creating systems which allow humans and the planet to thrive in harmony together. And that shouldn't, I feel like I sound hippie when I say that, but that shouldn't be like an alternative thing to say. It feels like common sense to me. I'd love to ask one more question from our audience, because it really ties in with the context of today as well. If you note that the buy more consumerist mentality developed as a response to a major economic downturn, post-depression and world war, what safeguards can we put in place to stop this happening after today's crisis and ensuing economic downturn? Are you worried about a consumer backlash?
That is such a timely and important, because we obviously have to kickstart our economy all around the world, because many people are seriously economically hurting. So we want more economic activity, but we don't want just any economic activity. We want economic activity that makes our society more healthy, more equitable, more fair. So we have to be discriminating and learn from mistakes of the past. Now, all of our countries, probably every single country on the planet, the government is looking at spending money to address the COVID crisis. And this is an incredible opportunity. This is a once in a generation opportunity. For 30 years, I have been saying to our government, we need action on climate. We need action on reducing waste. And you get the same answer all the time is, that's nice, but there's no money for that. We can't afford that, even while they're spending trillions of dollars on military equipment. But
military, exactly.
The number one excuse that governments say to resist moving to a more equitable, more just, more sustainable society is it's too expensive. They are right now going to be injecting trillions and trillions of dollars or euros or rupees or whatever currency you have into the economy to address COVID. All of us have to work to make sure that that money is a down payment on a better future, that we do it right this time, rather than use that money to prop up the polluting, lying industries that got into this mess. In the United States, the government is right now considering whether or not to give $3 trillion to the fossil fuel industry to prop them up. Absolutely not. That's our money. It's public money. That's insane. We have to organize and demand that they put people and the planet over profits. This is literally a once in a lifetime opportunity to influence this massive public expenditure towards the future that we want.
I mean, especially with what's going on though, and the way to how do we combat something like that again? Because at the moment, I mean, London was a great typical way of it, showing Extinction Rebellion, but there's no way we can protest. What can we do at this point? What do we do? Right? We can sign things, but what can we actually do at this point? Not to be a downer on it, but how do we stop that from happening in your mind?
Well, first of all, we're not going to be stuck in our houses forever. We will again be able to fill the streets.
I hope so. Yes.
And we may have to stand 6 feet or 2 meters apart to do that, but we will fill the streets again. And do not let our elected officials forget that. But the other thing is, remember, in most countries, they are elected officials, which mean they work for us. They serve at our pleasure. And so we need to vote. Now, voting is kind of like, recycling in some ways. It's the smallest possible tiny thing. It's not enough, but it is very important to do, especially if you're in the United States. This upcoming election is very important. Greenpeace is nonpartisan. We won't tell you who to vote for, but we will tell you one is a lot worse on climate than the other one. One is a lot.
I think we all know who that is, but yes.
And some people say, I don't want to vote because I don't like any of them. And I say, I'm not asking you to date them. You know, you don't have to be a roommate. Voting is not sending a Valentine. It is a tactical decision of who is going to screw things up the least. It matters. And so vote, get everybody you know to vote. And we have to show that if these politicians take money from the fossil fuel companies, if these politicians sell out community and public health for corporate profit, we are going to help them find a new job because they're not very good at this job. So they need to be moved on out. We really have to hold their feet to the fire when they get elected.
Yeah, and I think what you said about as soon as we can, being able to get back to this. Oh, I'm on mood. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think what you said, as soon as we can, and even if we have to, if it gets to the point where we need to stand 6 feet away from each other and protest, I think that's something that is the most important thing, because that really shows how many people will band together and what people will do for our future generations. You know, it's the most important thing. It really
well, the other thing is we have exhausted all the polite levers of our democracy. Like when I was in university, I studied environmental science, and I was so naive. I thought that the science and the truth would you present it to politicians and they would act upon it. We have now seen, it's just the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, we have now seen 50 years of presenting science, presenting economic arguments. We have written books. We have had millions of people sign petitions. We have made documentaries. We've had experts come and testify. I mean, we have exhausted the polite levers that our democracy offers us. And at this point, the window to solve both climate and plastic waste, which are really so connected, I shouldn't even say both, climate and plastic waste, the window to solve that is shrinking. And it's not our fault that we need to escalate and be more bold and radical in our demands. It's their fault because they did not respond to 50 years of good science. So we need to vote them out. We need to fill the streets. We need to write, call, bombard them with public pressure and not let them off the hook. We need to really put our bodies on the line through civil disobedience, which is why I'm such a big fan of groups like Extinction Rebellion and Greenpeace that are willing to do nonviolent civil disobedience, because the polite levers of democracy have not worked.
Any more comments you'd want to share, or Annie, if you would like to share any more comments?
I
I'd love to
think
say get involved with us. If you're in the United States, you can get involved with Greenpeace's campaign against plastic by taking your cell phone and texting the word plastic to 877-877. Just that number, 877-877. Text the word plastic and we'll plug you into our plastics campaign. If you're in another country, look for your local Greenpeace. Look at Gaia. That's that global anti-incinerator alliance that works all around the world. Get involved with others. If you can't find a group there on these issues, start your own. We'll give you some information to help, because nothing works better than collective action, us working together. It feeds our souls, it's fun, and it builds the power we need to drive change.
So that's plastic to 877-877, right?
Thousands of people who are listening to this conversation, and all the comments and the questions that are pouring in, and it just feels really good to remember that even in social isolation, you know, these are still crucial issues that we're all thinking about and caring about and addressing.
And you're not alone. You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Please. Christabel, please, can we do that? I would love that so much.
I would love it.
Annie, It's a date, seriously. That would be
It's
wonderful.
so fascinating. You just won't even believe it. It's
I'm
fascinating,
sure.
especially if you do it regularly, so you can see how the waste changes. Because it's
Changes,
almost all
yeah.
plastic now. When I started in the 80s, it wasn't all plastic. It was materials that we could figure out how to safely use if we had the right systems. But there's literally nothing we can do with all this plastic that is not a problem for health and the
Yeah.
environment.
Thank you so much for taking out the time. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're very ambitious.
But we will try and answer some of them and get that up on the website, and also follow up with everyone via email. You know, like thinking a little bit more about how we do keep it in the ground, how we can lobby, and also if we are stuck at home, now's quite a good time to get on letter writing, emailing, all of that kind of thing as well. Seeking out the local groups in your area, and like Annie said, if they don't exist, maybe creating some. Eco Resolution is we're working on developing a sort of like a global network, so linking people up to share ideas, to share skills, to create more of a sense of community, of all the positive ways that we can take action, because there's so many wonderful people already messaging us saying that they want to get involved and they want to feel supported, because I understand that not all communities and not all like social networks feel maybe the way that you feel. So yeah, again, you know, you're not alone. And I just hope that we can all really like share the documentary, the story of plastic, spread the word, get people to watch it. It's such a special and powerful documentary in that, yes, individual actions are so important, but you know, these issues are systemic and they are interlinked. And while on one hand, that can be overwhelming, on the other hand, you know, start working on one, it means the other ones are going to be getting better as well, because they're so interlinked. And yeah, let's all boycott plastic as well.
It's a wrap on plastic, people.
Cara, would you like to share anything?
Oh, I'm muted again. Oh, well, let me just, sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. No, I again, thank you so much, Annie, for taking the time. And I hope everyone, you know, really, I really want everyone to watch the documentary. And if it's too much, you know, the story of stuff, 20 minutes long, also the book, I can't wait to read it. And I think we've all just got to band together and realize that, you know, this is an impossible thing to fight. We can do it, and to keep hopeful, you know, in with everything that's going on in the world. But I think the more we have conversations and stop trying to hate each other and call people hypocrites. Yes, we're all humans. We're all hypocrites. It's fine. We're all trying to do our best. That's it. Let's just love each other and try and do what we can, you know? That's what I was
More love, less plastic. We can do this.
Woohoo! More love, less plastic. Yes.
Consumerism, but like as the more like Instagram, social media side of things, we're gonna
no.
So we're going to be looking at our relationship with nature and how we kind of understand nature, and our relationship, you know, often in mainstream world, separate to ourselves and maybe perhaps humans above nature. So we're going to be having a look at that. And to wrap up, I would like to leave.
No, you look good.
Have I frozen?
You look good.
Okay, cool. You're back as well. So to wrap up, I want to finish with one of my favourite quotes from Annie from her book, The Story of Stuff, which I have almost every line in it. It's every sentence is underlined as an important part. So I really couldn't recommend it more. So Annie says, I invite the citizen in you to become louder than the consumer inside you, and to launch a very rich, very loud dialogue with your community. So that's something we can all be doing from our devices at home and out in the world, taking action as well. So Cara, thank you so much. Annie Leonard, thank you so much. And yes, let's keep these conversations going.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Annie, thank you.
Thank you everyone for tuning in and for your questions.
And Ruby, thank you so much, guys. And yeah, thank you for all the audience. And I hope you guys loved it. And check it out if you haven't seen it yet. All right. Love you guys. See you on a landfill soon.
Streets.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Bye. Bye-bye. Oh, don't know. What am I doing? Oh, we're still on, Annie. Hi. Okay, Annie. It was so nice to speak to you. I hope to see you soon.
Me too, at a dump or at a protest or all of
Please.
the above.
All of the above. I want it all. Please, please. Anything I can do. So thank you so much again. And yeah, definitely. Thank you for the conversation, though. Lots of love. Bye. And say thank you to your daughter, please.
I will.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Bye. Okay, guys. Thank you again for everything. Hopefully, if you have any more questions, remember, I'm also on community, so send them over there. But anyway, lots of love to you guys. Hope you're staying safe. Bye.